I'm going to talk today about some thoughts, suggestions, ideas around how we move into this new world of almost complete non-contact, what that means for the sales approach. So what the current scenario is facing us with is the opportunity to accelerate our drive towards the digital sale. The vast majority of us on this call are digital marketers. We've been operating in the digital space for quite some time. What we're now faced with is the drive towards digital sales. Digital in a lot of our world in terms of sales means digital marketing support, digital marketing activity prior to a lead becoming an MQL, prior to an event, post follow-up, things like recycling nurtures, all of those things we've been working on in terms of marketing to support the sales process. Have progressed well. What we've seen has actually been quite slow is the digitization of the combination of marketing with sales and with customer success. World events at the moment are accelerating our drive towards non-contact in every aspect of how we communicate with our clients, with our customers and our prospects. So where we find ourselves now is adapting to this new normal and digital sales becoming well established and potentially becoming a large part of that new normal. How much of this goes back to normal in months or years' time, depending on how long these world events continue, remains to be seen. But there's an opportunity here for us to take on this challenge of how we fill the pipeline, continue to fill the pipeline, and identify where we can fill that revenue gap that's potentially being left by salespeople who would normally be out on the road, normally be out at events, meeting people face to face and making those conversions face to face. It gives us an opportunity to drive a new level of sales productivity as well. So there is no substitute for face-to-face. I've grown up in a world of sales and marketing where face-to-face meetings, conversations, planning, brainstorming is absolutely part and parcel of what we do. And I feel that there's still no substitute for it, but we're being forced down this route more quickly than ever. Doesn't mean that I don't believe that digital sales, digital customer service is not the direction we should be going, because as a business, as an agency, we have been driving our proposition for the last 6 to 12 months to move our digital capabilities into sales and customer success experiences. The reason for that is we talked around six or 7 years ago, those of you who've known us for that length of time, we talked very much about the world changing because consumer buyer behavior had started to change with the likes of Amazon, TripAdvisor, those where we were happy to take almost anonymous reviews and make purchases of more significant value without actually seeing a product or even speaking to someone. And that had changed the way that we worked in digital marketing in B2B. That had a knock-on effect. What is the next thing I believe that is coming down the line for B2B in marketing is and sales and customer success is the Netflix and the Spotify versions. It's not just the recurring revenue, but it is the completely seamless digital experience of marketing, sales, and then personalized customer service, personalized customer success, personalized product experiences. And what this is allowing us to do, the current scenario that we're presented with coronavirus, is allowing us to explore some of those experiences in a lot more depth and a lot more detail. Next slide, please. Sales productivity and sales efficiency is something that I think is going to come out of the back of this, these things that we explore. So as we continue to explore how we better relate sales performance to the rest of the funnel, it's not just about CRM and marketing automation platform connectivity. It's not just about connecting our tools. It's about connecting the people that are buying and the people that are selling, and doing that in a digital way, and then being able to measure those data points and relate that sales performance to the rest of the funnel. It's about bringing sales and marketing closer together. We've been trying to be better aligned for a long time. We've started talking in the last 6 to 12 months about sales and marketing connectivity as opposed to just alignment. And I think in a world where digital sales and the digital sales process needs to get much sharper, much better to adjust that balance of digital versus human touches, this is where digital marketers and digital marketing agencies have a breadth and a wealth of experience that no one else does. We can really help to take those digital marketing experiences that we've been building and learning from and understanding what performs and what our audiences love and how they want to engage with us. We know how to take that beyond MQL into the world of sales, to conversion, to customer onboarding. And it's not just about creating case studies and getting great testimonials. It's way, way more than that. Next slide, please. So we continue to talk about the digital revolution and digital transformation, phrases that we're all very familiar with, that we've been talking about for a long time. But now we are in a position where we can just accelerate that direction of travel. So some of those obstacles that were potentially in our way, some of those things that we struggle to do to justify certain events, physical events, justify certain sales activity, we now are in a position to accelerate the direction of travel in terms of digital experiences. Taking those high quality digital experiences that users frankly expect now, while they're working from home and based at home, they'll be experiencing more of the personalization that they get from great consumer brands like Netflix, like Spotify, like HelloFresh, any of those sorts of brands that we love. And they'll be expecting increasingly B2B brands to behave in the same way. They don't want disconnected touches between different teams throughout their journey. The challenge with B2B is often that our journeys are much longer than the consumer journey, and therefore we have to be way, way smarter around how we connect those touches and how we automate them to make it feel like a one-to-one conversation when in fact it's one-to-many. And this is where I believe we can help sales and customer success in spades. Tactics that are treated in isolation just won't be able to achieve this great experience. So this is very much about a holistic approach. We're going to talk through some specific tactics and some specific ideas, but this is very much about how you can sit down and think about your brand, your sales process, your sales experience, and the experience your customers and buyers are going to have from engaging with you post MQL and even post sale, and making sure that we can still focus on the all-important sales relationships, account management relationships, but we can still give amazing digital experiences using those very knowledgeable people that we have at our disposal. So taking advantage of the opportunity, it's really important to connect as many of these elements as are applicable to your processes, your customers, build these seamless user experiences and relate those user touches between teams. And on that note, I'll hand over to Greg.
Thanks, Andrea. And just to give a real example I've had over the past couple of days of how this is sort of treated in different environments. I had one company I was trying to get hold of, and I spent 90 minutes on the phone on hold last night. And the message on hold was, we're experiencing a higher volume of calls. Please be patient. And no definition of time, nothing on call. Today I called another company and they said the wait time is in excess of half an hour, which meant I just put the phone down. Logged into an area online or went to their website. It allowed me to register my account there and then. I submitted my question, to which I was suggested some recommendations of how this could be helped. Then that didn't solve it, so I was offered a live chat conversation. And then after that conversation, an automated conversation followed up with me in terms of, is everything resolved? Here's a few things to reduce this happening again in the future. And I've interacted with, with marketing, with sales, with customer success, as Andrea mentioned, and the story and the journey between all of them was perfect. Whereas with one channel, they had a human touch and that's all they relied on, and everyone wanted to talk to a human and they had no way of actually solving that. And I think this is where the blending of that journey with teams is sort of where marketing can understand how to deliver that. So then moving on to the revenue responsibility model, and this was shared a couple of days ago, so I'll talk through it now. And what it really architects is how the roles of marketing, sales, and customer success sit together, and how increasingly digital channels are becoming more and more important. So if we think back of 5 years ago, as Andrea mentioned, marketing probably held campaigns at the very start of the funnel, at the very top end, and they probably held some customer communication pieces and probably not much in the middle. And then where we sit today, or at least in recent history, is marketing supports sales throughout this journey. And it also helps with customer communications a lot more in terms of some retention messages or some upsell messages. But it's still not always thinking about this end-to-end journey. Where we are now and we're being forced to think about is actually how can we deliver more and more digital touches because we can't get there and deliver it in a face-to-face fashion. We're being forced to think in a different way. And this is from marketing and sales and customer success. It's not just for one team. But the key point that Andrea mentioned is marketing's been thinking in this way for a few years and deliver this change across marketing campaigns. And now we can help the rest of the organization do this through digital sales and through customer success to really have that personalized experience, that data-driven approach around it, and being able to scale it and deliver it across digital channels. So when we look at how this breaks down, there's three main categories of how elements can be structured or delivered. The first one's primarily marketing owned. We call this automated digital experiences. So this is looking at typically tactics and activities that marketing deliver. It's looking at personalizing top of the funnel activity. It's looking at making that experience feel unique to the person, but being able to deliver it based on rules and data and intent. So it's automated and it's scalable. In the middle, we've then got what we call scalable digital touches. And these are delivered by sales because they are structured for marketing. They follow a lot of digital best practices, but sales still controls who receives them and when they receive them. So examples of that could be proposal pages or delivering of sales enablement tactics that marketing have helped enable with platforms or with templates or with content and material, but sales still deliver that message in a personal way, or at least with a personal trigger. And then on the right-hand side, we've got digital salesperson experiences. And this is, to Andrew mentioned, this is the value that sales add. This is the one-to-one sales conversation that you want sales to spend more of their time doing. Where if we can deliver more of these high-value conversations, then we increase productivity. And I think marketing understands how to do this in a more scalable fashion than traditionally sales would. So we're looking at how we can take those learnings and best practices and support sales to be more effective in doing what they do best. So the first category mentioned, automated digital experiences. So some of the tactics that sit within there are things like intent data. Now, intent data, is very easy to think of it as it's a marketing data source, which makes our media targeting more effective, which it does. But if we think about the idea of creating digital experiences and digital journeys, what intent data really does is allow us to deliver the right message to the right type of company. Whereas a couple of years ago, we may have had a named account list and sales said, I've got these 100 accounts or these 1,000 accounts, marketing, can you help? And marketing would just advertise to all of them because that's what the wish list said. That's what the named account list was. Whereas now with intent data, we can say, well, there's 100 or 1,000 accounts, but we know only 20% of them are active in market. So we make sure that marketing focuses the effort around those accounts, the insights provided to sales around those accounts. But from a user experience, they're only seeing messages when the time's right for them. We're not talking to them for 3 years constantly about how great we are. We know when they're active and we can deliver them the right messages at the right time. Next slide, Phil. Another platform that helps deliver this is appointment scheduling. And this has two benefits. Again, one, from a commercial benefit, you actually far greater conversion rates or sales connection rates, because instead of calling someone back 3 or 4 times hoping you catch them at the right time, they say when they're ready to talk to you, a meeting goes in their diary and you can call them up when suits them. From a sales perspective, it also helps change the perception of what marketing delivers. Instead of just having a lead in the platform to call back at some point during the day, sales will turn up with 2 or 3 meetings in their calendar at specific times. So the perception of the quality of the leads and the value marketing is delivered far higher. But it's all built around how we can deliver that digital experience to the user and make it easier for them. So this is like a really simple way that marketing can help enable sales productivity, but also it can really improve that connected customer journey. And then the last couple of examples that sit here are things like chatbots. So I'll talk through a couple. Some of them can live on your website, on your .com corporate website. I think this is a great way of really personalize that experience. So we think back to what Andrea mentioned around making it feel like it's one-to-one to that person. This is a great way, if someone's on a page and has a question or they're looking for some content or material, we can suggest content for them and then they can self-serve that story all the way through to being able to actually schedule appointments or just find out information or actually be routed to the right team, rather than filling in a form or navigating through the website themselves. So it feels really specific to their need. And then the last example here is around a chatbot that could live within Facebook potentially. So again, we're connecting the experience and connecting the journey across digital channels. So taking behaviors someone may have shown on your website, you'll be able to retarget them when they go to Facebook or they follow you on Facebook. You can start to interact with them and suggest their journey again. And this can be personalized whether someone's a customer, whether they're a lead, whether we know what industry they're in, whether we know what pages they've interacted with before. So again, it's a really specific journey to that individual and it feels really unique to them. And all of that data can then feed into the rest of the communications around the digital experience that we're trying to create across all these different touch points.
Okay. So now I'm going to talk about scalable digital sales touches. And I think these are, probably a bit more practical than some of the things that Greg's been talking about. And with all that's been going on, it's more important than ever. The bottom line is, we need to make it as easy as possible for sales to be effective and professional. We need to make proposals more focused, relevant, and add value, but not be reinvented every time. And, we know that sales do that often. They start with a core of information and then add the personal touches, and we can enhance that and make it easier for them to do that. So things like templates, clear process in advance for responding to prospects, and something we do with our prospects and clients is set up landing pages for proposals. So there's core information on there about the business and content and valuable content, but then the personalized proposal, things like the logo, the customer name, specific things relating to the proposition of proposal. Because what we want to do is make it as easy as possible for buyers to understand what they're getting and how to buy, and then connect that into salesperson alerts and back-end integration and data. Next slide, please. So sales nurtures, there's two sides of this. The first is around automation and driving productivity. We can still use the same platforms that we use for what we typically think of as marketing nurtures, but in this respect, we can really automate sales emails and engagement based on things like interaction, behavior, and so on, so we can really be relevant to the audience. We need to make sure that we understand where they are in their journey and how they've engaged with sales, so we can take each stage a step at a time and move them through the sales pipeline. And when the lead is accepted by sales or more relevant, then we can share that information to drive a one-to-one conversation. On the optimization side, here it's about empowering teams to personalize interactions, but doing it at scale, enabling them to schedule more meetings, convert more prospects to opportunities, and ultimately drive revenue growth. So giving sales the tools to build a pipeline, using the right interaction at the right time, and then looking at ways to standardize. Next slide, please. Finally, in this section, sales enablement. So this is all about supporting sales to be more effective, empowering them with a standardized approach, because what we ultimately want to do is really make the best use of their valuable time and help them tell the brand story, the product stories in a really consistent way. So make it easy for them to find the assets they need within a platform, something like Showpad. In those platforms, they can start online meetings from within the platform and then have tailored content ready to serve up through the conversation they're having with their prospects. And really importantly, what we want to do is know who's using what, who's using it when, working out what's most effective so we can do more of what is effective and less of what isn't being used by sales. Thank you.
Thanks, John. So in terms of digital salesperson experiences, this is this one-to-one building of relationships, which we still need to facilitate sales doing. It's critical and it's so important in terms of building trust. But if we can harness digital tactics and digital channels in the right way, we can also increase sales productivity throughout this period and hopefully into the future. Taking advantage of this live video revolution that we're all comfortable with, I think just testimony to the fact that we've been able to have this call on not a webinar platform, but a video conferencing platform that 4 of us have been very comfortable back and forth discussing the various slides and handing over to each other, because we do this all the time and we're very comfortable with it, shouldn't be taken for granted. And if you've got sales teams and channel sales teams that are used to being out on the road and meeting people face to face, they're going to feel very uncomfortable with some of this stuff. So being able to put sales training together to help them use video to build relationships, feeling comfortable recording a video and sending that out via email, having email templates within which you can easily embed that video, so it's not just throw a link that's thrown in there, but that it looks slick and it looks good, will potentially allow you to double the number of sales meetings that your sales teams can facilitate on a weekly, monthly basis. So being able to spend less time on the road should be and could be a positive in terms of productivity. Hopefully we can increase the accuracy of follow-up as well. So due to the speed of the proposal and response creation, if sales guys are having video conferences, they're having conversations, and you can give them the tools to take those notes quickly and be able to create an almost bespoke proposal by using templates that are modular, by creating things that can, as John talked about the landing pages earlier, something that is templated, modular, that you can change logos, personalize quickly, and get out the door to the prospect, because the salesperson doesn't have to worry about traveling back and then doing another day's worth of sales meetings and waits till Fridays to put their proposals together. All of these things could mean that we just have a much quicker turnaround, a much better speed of response, which, to Greg's earlier points, no one wants to be waiting if they're fired up and excited about the proposal and about the product and the solution. Then let's strike while the iron's hot. Every good salesperson knows that, and digital should be able to facilitate that far, far better than face-to-face in many areas. Critical part of the sales process, along with appointment setting, is that personalized follow-up and nurture. So just giving some of those tools that we use today in marketing to salespeople, so that they can facilitate that great experience digitally and not have to lose any trust building, relationship building through not meeting face to face, is going to be critical. That's where our digital sales bootcamp can come in very handy. So at Ledger Bennett, we can provide sales bootcamps to help and salespeople understand some of those really important sales tactics that maybe we don't always consider and we don't remember that they do, and is a fundamental part of how they build trust and build relationships. So that walk from the lobby, when your customer or prospect comes to meet you in the lobby, you shake hands, you walk up you go through to the elevator up to the room. None of that's happening anymore. Certainly not the shaking of hands, but the meeting in the lobby is not happening. Those few minutes of asking a few questions, understanding what their challenges are or what their priorities are before you even get down to business is a critical part of the sales process. Making sure that you can see your customer or prospect and that they use their video so that you can read their body language. There's no choice when you meet face to face but to be able to see their body language. But if our customers and our prospects are not comfortable using video and our sales guys are not comfortable using video, then that richness is lost as well. So feeling comfortable using video, being able to build rapport quickly, having those, you know, rehearsed, pre-planned things and questions and conversation starters that a sales guy might use in a cold meeting face-to-face, either at an event or when they go to meet someone at their premises. Being able to replicate that on video isn't as straightforward as here you go, here's a video conferencing technology. It's way, way more than that. So being able to role play some of those things, that's what we can help with as digital marketers. We do these things day in, day out. Exchanging business cards. So even that's a little bit old school now, but there are still plenty of industries where that is really important. Certainly cultures globally, if you're a global organization, which most of our clients are, some of those cultures, it is absolutely critical to exchange business cards still. How do you do that in a digital world? And how do you replicate that value exchange in terms of leave behinds and the impact of that, the content that you can send afterwards. There are so many things that we can provide as digital marketers to sales teams to make sure that these digital experiences are as rich and maybe even more so than they were when they were a face-to-face conversation. So being able to very, very quickly switch from a conversation about what's on your mind, what is the problem that you need to solve right now, to virtual demos, to on-demand content, to walk-arounds of experience centres or products. You can't do that if you're at a prospect's office and in a meeting room. You need to set follow-up. It slows down the process. There's an opportunity here for us to really condense those sales stages. Next slide, please. Deregionalised sales teams. I talked a little bit about this on the call on Tuesday, and I think anyone who was on the call on Tuesday where we were talking about meetings specifically, events specifically, and replacing events. If we're no longer worried about physically covering a patch or a location as a sales team, then there could be the potential in the future to really revolutionize the way that the sales teams are even built and run and managed. And actually what they need to be aligned around is a time zone, not a physical location. So as long as they can cover in a certain amount of time zones, the only real barriers there are potentially languages, accents in some scenarios, but it's more about being able to converse and give amazing digital experiences, not just have lots of meetings and lots of travel. So lower cost sales team with that minimal requirement to travel, investment in those digital sales tools and processes could well take precedence over travel time and travel expenses. So all of that time that's now lost traveling from one meeting to the next could be invested in more of these digital sales tools, experiences, processes, building and creating all of those easy to use, templated, modular, highly personalized digital experiences that I think sales should be able to provide to prospects and to customers. In an ideal world, that will obviously increase sales productivity, but some of these experiences that are one-to-one that you just can't get away from, the experience center. So I see a lot of our clients that have physical products and they have experience centers that they invite their clients and customers to walk around, look at the latest products, look at the latest functionality. And it's an opportunity not just to show off the products, but to build relationships, build trust, and be able to move and accelerate the conversation to the next stage. We're going to miss that if we just create videos of products and walk-arounds and send them out via a link in an email. We're going to continue. Sorry, I can see a note come up. We're having issues with video and audio, guys.
None on my end. All good. I can see.
Not in Paris.
Okay, I'll continue.
We're okay here. So yeah, okay. Carol then, Andrea.
Apologies if you are. We'll continue. Yeah, I think that experience center. It's not just about the product walk around. Any good sales team or account management team will tell you that it's about that relationship. It's about that trust. And being able to give your sales teams, your account teams a GoPro and an hour in the experience center or more to be able to have a personalized experience or conversation with a client or a group of clients, to walk them around the products and answer questions and have the banter and the relationships and continue to build those. Just a video conference is not enough. So being able to, give them that functionality and still make good use of those experience centers, just opening them up through a digital window as opposed to bringing people physically together, I think could certainly be one thing to consider, is whilst those experience centres gathered a little bit of dust. Next slide, please. And then vertical market advisory. So understanding your customer verticals better than ever. There's a huge amount of change across all verticals. It's driven by technology. It's driven by current events in the world around coronavirus and how people are now behaving. We don't know what's going to go back to how it was before or what's going to change forever. But there's a huge amount of vertical knowledge that as you know, that's in your organizations, that combining that with really engaging people has always been a real differentiator. So harnessing that, like you would in an event showroom or an experience center, harnessing that and really getting that message out there, whether it's one-to-one or one-to-many, is still as critical as ever. So really driving those experiences, giving that window into vertical insight, how things are moving and changing, and reacting to some of those events in the world. And advising those verticals on a, as I say, one-to-one or one-to-many basis is again really critical. Over to you, Greg.
Thanks, Andrea. So we just wanted to, before we wrap up and open the floor for questions, really bring this back together. So up front, we positioned some of the challenges and the landscape that we're facing in the direction of travel. And then we've moved into how some of these tactical elements fit together. One of the clients we work with is Chow Now, and they sell subscription software to restaurants to allow online ordering, which at the minute is obviously a very desirable model to be in if we can think of the demand and the inability to interact in the way we used to. If you go to the next slide, Phil. And what they've been doing over the past sort of 12, 18 months with us is really looking at this journey that a customer can go on all the way from initial touch through to customer and then through to looking at a lifetime value and retention piece. And really understanding how they can drive more productivity and higher conversion and engagements from the customer at each stage through that. So on the right-hand side, you'll see like a range of vendors and tools and platforms they've deployed to really help them facilitate this digital experience and this digital journey. So appointment scheduling is one of the first things they deployed where they wanted to change the perception of what marketing delivers for the business. They've employed lots of enrichment services to make the experience of actually someone contacting them to be easier. So everything from type ahead on the form, so someone doesn't have to enter their whole address. They can just start typing it and it finds it based on IP and based on name. And then they can select that. They've used that to then improve how the lead gets routed to people as well. So it goes through to someone that covers a territory. And back to one of Andrea's points, the territory that they cover doesn't necessarily mean where the SDR or the sales rep is based. They're based in 2 hubs of sales offices, but they cover like nationally, but they don't need to be in a physical location to perform that. So again, that's just showing how some of these dynamics are changing. They also look at how their user base needs to engage, and being restaurant owners, a lot of it is on a phone moving around from the business. So SMS and mobile is a really important part for them. So they look at things like automating reminders from SMS or email when there is a meeting or when there is appointment, to make sure they have a higher attendance rate when something's scheduled. And then they also look at some of the conversational pieces. So Conversica around AI marketing, to have some of the conversations with leads that have, let's say, stalled in the pipeline or have stopped interacting, to again blend that human and digital touch to interact with people. And they've seen fantastic results from being able to do this, to reducing call attempts, increasing engagement, having higher quality leads, and also being able to optimize some of the sales conversion pieces through testing and optimization, using more digital environment touches. And if you jump through the builds on this one, Phil, and what they've seen now is they've been building this out to what that journey looks like over digital environments, and saying, okay, where can we take the human touches and keep them being human delivered, but add a digital flavor, like Andrea said, to enrich that experience even more, to increase productivity and to have a better experience for a prospect or a customer, because they can understand more context around that conversation rather than just speaking one-to-one to a person. So they've looked at everything from the start around where they can find intent data specific to their niche, how they can engage people through typical marketing channels, how they can drive greater engagement and conversion with things like chatbots and appointment scheduling, and then how they can scale some of the sales touches through looking at sales outreach with templates, sales nurtures, and templating their proposals and negotiation process with guided selling. And then the next part that we're looking at this year is really moving into what that looks like with customer success to grow the lifetime value of prospects.
Thanks, Greg. So before we open up to questions, just to round up then, the future of B2B revenue performance here, we are talking about how we can take these digital touches and digital interactions, digital experiences, out of the marketing arena into sales, into customer success. We as digital marketers, which I believe everyone on this call have the experience, have been doing this for long enough. We speak the language, we understand the tools, we understand the tactics, and we're also very open to change and understanding how new tools and tactics come into the mix, because we've been operating in this space for the last 10 to 15 years, and we're best placed to drive these digital experiences beyond MQL. So we need to focus way beyond our usual remit. We need to focus in supporting the channel, supporting the direct sales teams, supporting customer success teams, so that we can digitize those and connect those data points all the way from inquiry right the way through the lifetime value of a customer, as opposed to just focusing on how we generate leads and then hand off to sales. Sales are going to need a lot of support as our customer success, and this is going to ultimately allow us to utilize user data to improve our sales and marketing performance, not just alignment, not just connectivity, but ultimately performance. So in terms of next steps to build revenue pipeline, many of these tactics, as in the same as our presentation on Tuesday, many of these tactics can be implemented pretty quickly and evolved over time. So there's no reason why you can't lean in to help those sales teams very quickly and help to support some of those things that they're trying to adapt and trying to change in the way that they do business. There's a necessity for salespeople and for product experts to get comfortable in front of the camera, so get introducing the training and familiarity sessions straight away. Agree those priority tactics. We can help. Your account manager or account director at Ledger Bennett can help to understand which points of the sales process some of these tactics could really help and really benefit you as an organization, because there won't be a one-size-fits-all. As I said, set up those training courses and familiarity courses this week. Get on with the job of helping those salespeople to use the platforms that we're very comfortable using. Although I notice it's really only Ledger Bennett people that are using video, so maybe even marketers are not all that comfortable with it. Utilizing the existing digital channels to promote. So we know how to get the message out there. We're marketers. We know how to get in touch with customers, with prospects. We know how to tell them about new functionality, about new products. Let's tell them about a new sales process as well, because that's where we can come into our own. Connect the activity to other pipeline activity. Again, this is something that we've been doing for the last decade. There's no reason why we can't take it further, take it into support sales and customer success. It's not just about connecting the CRM and the marketing automation platform and the CMS. It's way, way further than that. And just keep evolving and keep iterating. We'll learn so much, but this is potentially the next phase of the digital revolution. It touched marketing, and now it's time to get into sales and customer success.